my biggest deal, got him seller to agree to seller finance. And then I realized, because it was $500,000 that we needed for a down payment, I realized, one, I don't have $500,000 down. And two, I don't know the first thing about running an RV park.
Welcome back, Legacy Builders, to Your Money, Your Rules, the podcast where real people share real strategies that build real legacies. Now, I'm your host, Teresa Villaruz, founder of the Thrive Movement. And here's what I know for sure. Wealth isn't about stacking dollars in a bank. It's about creating freedom, fueling purpose, and leaving a legacy that matters. And today's guest, well, he's a living example of that mission. Jordan Reyes is one of those people who doesn't just chase deals. He helps structure and take down some of the coolest opportunities in real estate. And his Mount Everest is helping 5,000 people reach financial foundation. And one of the ways he's doing it is through an asset class that most people don't even think about, and that is RV parks. Now, we're about to unpack how he got started, why RV parks are such a powerful play, and what it really takes to build wealth that lasts. And so without further ado, let's welcome the amazing Mr. Jordan Reyes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you have a lot of knowledge to share, a lot of experience to share with the community as well. So we are so blessed to have you here today, Jordan. Now, I always start asking because it sets the stage for everything else, right? When you look back, what was that defining moment that really shifted the way you thought about money and wealth? And it might be even, your path through this thing that you're doing with structuring deals and eventually diving into RV parks.
Yeah, that is a very, very good question. And I don't know that I have fully gotten over it, to be honest with you. I've always looked at money as something that's, growing up, stacked up, saved, put away in the bank. What's yours is what you have to use. And that's really it. So if I needed to buy a house, it's going to take me a long time, but I have to save. I have to do these things. And it really was about saving every single dollar or every single penny. And now, probably within the last couple of years, I really have to tell myself, and it's probably only been the last, I would say, even 6 months that I've started to actually believe it, is that money is a tool and that it's nothing more than that. It's not, yes, it is a store of value and things like that, but it's really more of a tool. It's a tool to get me in the right rooms. It's a tool to get me with the right people, and it should be utilized. And so instead of scraping by to save, I look at it now as just a shovel or a hammer to help me build the thing that I want to build.
That's awesome. Now you mentioned, it's just a tool, but you use it to get in the right rooms, right? That is so powerful because I've seen who you're connected with. And one of the things that really resonated with me was that story with you helping Pace buy this RV park. Would you mind kind of diving into that deal? Like, how did that go about? What exactly did you do to help Pace? Maybe you partnered with him, right? So you're part owner of that as well?
Yeah. So it was just I always say taking imperfect action, just going after and doing something is number one. Being unabashedly, unashamed yourself. And my kids and my wife are always a little cautious of anywhere we go because I don't care so much what people think about me. I'll go and do whatever. I'll go talk to whoever. And it's always like, oh, there he goes again, just talking to some random person. And so, I'll do things that I don't know exactly what the payoff is going to be or if there will be a payoff. But I am just seeking an opportunity. And to piggyback on that is just being in the right rooms and talking to the right people. And one of those situations came up with the RV park. So the RV parks came to me. I'm not an RV park guy. I don't have an RV park background. I didn't grow up camping. That wasn't anything that was in like my DNA. I know a lot of people today are like, I want that asset class. I love camping. I love doing the family thing. That wasn't it for me. I had started in new construction when I got into real estate and development, and then kind of transitioned my way into figuring out, the money was good, but I don't have anything to hold. Like there's no legacy, right? There's no long-term wealth. And so then I started to get into some burrs, and then I was trying to figure out multifamily, and I ended up offering on these RV park or this RV park. And the reason I offered on the RV park was simply because I couldn't figure it out in multifamily. Multifamily was really hard, cap rates, private equity. And I just was like, man, everything I offer on, I don't get, and I can't figure it out. And so I saw an RV park come up. I offered on it thinking it was the same as multifamily or very similar or like a mobile home park, kind of going into it naive, but taking imperfect action. And so that one turned out that they did not accept the offer originally. 3 months later, a couple months later, 2-3 months later, the broker comes back and says, hey, we didn't sell that deal. Are you still interested? And at that time I said no, right? Playing hardball, a little hard to get. And he said, okay, well, there's another park about a mile down the road that the seller also owns. And these are the only two parks that are kind of outside his portfolio. Most of all of his stuff is on the other side of the state or wherever. And so we took a look at those. I ended up getting them under contract. And when I got them under contract, seller finance, I was super excited about it. My biggest deal, got them to agree to seller finance. And then I realized, because it was $500,000 that we needed for a down payment, I realized, one, I don't have $500,000 down. And two, I don't know the first thing about running an RV park. And so what had happened was I was in the parking lot, again, kind of taking just imperfect action, just doing the thing. And I was in the parking lot of a meetup for the community for sub 2 and and Gator. And I actually wasn't in sub 2 and I didn't even really know Pace. And so I just was showing up because I had known a couple other people and I had done some deals with some other folks. And I thought, what's the worst that could happen? I'm going to meet other people. And so instead of being worried about the deal, I just thought, because I literally got them signed in the car as I was sitting in the parking lot waiting to get out. So had them signed, all of the emotions. I'm excited. And then I'm freaking out because I'm like, there's no way I can do this deal. And so I thought, I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to go out, hang with people, talk, network. And so what ended up happening was and he's doing it now, but Pace was traveling in his RV at that time. And he was staying in Bozeman. This was in Bozeman, Montana. And he was staying like 45 minutes away because there's nowhere to stay in the summer. And so he said, hey, you know what? We should buy an RV park here. And me just, again, not knowing anything, I was like, well, I have 2 under contract right now. And he's like, where? And I said, well, they're not here. They're actually in Kalispell. And he's like, I'll be in Kalispell on Saturday. And I'm like, what are the chances of that? And so I kind of talk a little bit more about him. And he's like, I'll buy those with you. And, kind of long story short is then I was like, I want to be around more of these people. Let me get in the actual room. So I joined Sub 2. And then we were driving those parks the day after that. And we ended up closing on them.
Man, talk about like things just falling into place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's
absolutely
amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. So first you got into, it's funny how you got into RV parks because you tried multifamily and couldn't figure it out because all the offers you put out didn't get accepted. Jumped into RV not knowing what to really don't have experience in that, but jumped anyway, like you said, taking imperfect actions, but taking action nonetheless, while most people would probably be stuck in analysis paralysis and kind of fade back because they don't know too much about this, this asset class. But you just went on and like, just, we'll play as it goes.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It played well as it went, like had a contract, went to a meetup, met with Pace, who was already thinking about buying a mobile home or RV park, actually an RV park. And you just happened to have 2 contracts.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, so fast forward to where you are today, RV park investing. What has that looked since then?
Yeah. So again, I would say for people getting into it is leveraging other people, right? From a capital standpoint, using the tools that you're given. So whether that's a friend or a family member that you guys are going to partner on it with, and maybe if you need to start small, that's perfectly okay. But I would also say, get in the rooms, get around the other people that are doing what you want to do. Because if I look back on it realistically, could I have probably raised the money? Yeah, I bet I could have. Could I have run operations? Probably. But what the thing would have been is I would have been on site. I would have been actively doing it day in, day out and not been able to scale. And so what that has turned into is it was an immediate credibility. And so now that's how we bought our last park, was actually the credibility from our first park. And so the last park that we bought was the broker on that one had actually sold it to the previous owner of the other park. And so she was very familiar with it. And when I said, "Oh, we own this park," she's like, let me handle it." Basically, I said, "Here's the terms. Here's how we're going to set it up." So she went to bat for us, and that's how we actually closed on our last RV park. So it immediately gives you credibility. So what I would say is, if you're looking at it and trying to take action and thinking about getting in, use the tools, get in the other rooms, learn from people that are doing or in the spot that you want to be at, and leverage that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now I'll go into learning more from people who have that experience later. But for now, you got into this. You have now experience in RV parks.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think makes it such a strong strategy right now, given the economy and a lot of people are jumping into multifamily for co-living?
Mm-hmm.
Why RV parks?
So I think co-living is a great strategy as well. I think every strategy has kind of obviously their little niche, multifamily, self-storage, what have you. I would say, in my humble opinion, I think that RV parks are kind of the last frontier of areas that have been touched from big players, private equity, and big funds. And, they've come through self-storage and multifamily and commercial and all of the industrial and even to single family point, maybe not from the co-living perspective, but portfolios and Section 8 and things like that. And so I think those are always tough because when you're trying to compete with a lot of money or cash, lower cap rates, right? That's your competition. I think RV parks are kind of the last frontier when it comes to a real estate sector, because there is 16,000 parks. I would say probably 90% of them are mom and pop owned, so there hasn't been a lot of that. There's a lot of loose paperwork, meaning not good records kept and things like that. And so that's why I think there's a lot of opportunity. I will say that you want to partner or want to at least seek the advice of somebody who's done it. And the only reason I say that is because it is probably a business first, real estate second. It is, unless you're doing some long-term stuff, but if you're actually running it as a transient, almost like an Airbnb, but think of, 50, 60, 70 Airbnbs in one transaction, right? And so there's a lot more that goes on. There may not be building, homes and single family homes that you're taking care of, like an Airbnb, but you're taking care of facilities, you're taking care of people. There's a whole hospitality aspect to it. And so there's a lot of things that you don't realize, and it's not as passive as multifamily and self-storage and things like that. You can't just put in a property manager and be completely hands off. So in my opinion, it is business first, real estate second. And so getting inside track on that is super important, especially if you haven't run a business before.
Yeah, yeah. Now, a lot of people, especially in Owners Club right now, like there's a lot of buzz around business buying, because what you can do is you buy businesses from like these business owners who are mom and pops, right? And essentially do kind of like a value add to the business, and that's kind of like what you're doing with these RV parks as well, right?
Yeah.
Now, what are some of the few things that you've done with the RV parks that you have right now to add value, to add more value in order to increase the price or get more market share or whatnot?
I would say that the biggest thing, and this probably goes back to all business buying, is your marketing and branding. Trying to figure out where to place ads, and on our latest park. So we just bought one that didn't exist anywhere else. Like even in the local economy, people were coming in and they're like, "Man, I didn't even know this place existed. It's amazing. It's wonderful." Right? So just getting the word out. And that's not going to happen overnight. That's going to take time, And so online stuff, influencers, partnering with the locals, whether that's hamburger joints or the pizza place or just other local influencers, collaboration over competition, even other luxury or lodging facilities we've done some stuff with. And then that was the last one, and that's going to be a huge push on one we're actually acquiring now. We're in the middle of an acquisition right now. And it really comes down to a marketing, a branding, and running operations. So those are probably number one. So your marketing, position, and operations, and then it's other things that you can. Those are going to be the biggest drivers, I think. And then there's other things that you can certainly do from a rentals perspective, or propane sales, or gas sales, or ice, or convenience store items, and those types of things. But I think that the biggest initial push is always going to be on marketing and branding.
That's awesome. Now, once you figured out, okay, well, you know what, I RV parks, you were lucky the first time. I wouldn't say it's luck because you've actually taken action, right?
What's
And
funny
you
is I
got
just
into
said that, but there is some component of luck. I would say, to be grateful. We always start like all our meetings with gratitude, but you can acknowledge that you can be lucky, right? But luck is where preparation meets opportunity, right? So
there you go. Yeah. So, I mean, where I was going to was that, you've taken imperfect actions and got into the right rooms, whether you were actually intentionally being in the right room, but you got into a space where there's actually people that can help you out, right? And now you're trying to do the same thing with your Mount Everest, trying to help 5,000 people reach their financial foundation. And one of that is through RV parks. And can you tell us a little bit more about like what made you think about, this is my Mount Everest and this is this is going to be my goal? What was your
yeah, so
why?
I think from the perspective of a financial foundation, it really is different than financial freedom. Every time I hear financial freedom, I hear I've made it. I'm never going to work again. I'm just going to do whatever. And to me, that's not what it's about. It's about the foundation, right? Of you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. You teach a man how to fish, he eats for a lifetime, right? And so when I hear free like that financial freedom, it's always I'm kind of done. Like I've made it. And so the foundation portion is not everything is financial for people. And so we want to be able to help people get to the spot where they've made it to a spot that they're comfortable enough that they're not worried about the 9 to 5, right? Because I grew up very middle class. We weren't poor, but I also wasn't like I knew that we had to go to work, right? Like my parents had to work. It wasn't like we got to do all of these crazy things, and it was just enough. I feel like, and I've told some of my best friends that it's like they just dangle the carrot when you're working for somebody, just enough so that you don't leave and go do your own thing, and you're just comfortable enough, but you never like break through. And so that foundation piece is where I want to help people get to, so that they feel comfortable enough to maybe start their own business and maybe do their own thing, but it doesn't have to be that. For some people, it's just, I want more time with my family. I want to be there at every practice. I want to be there at every tournament. I want to be there for my kids' play. Or I want to give back. I want to go on a mission trip. I want to provide water for something, wells for the less fortunate, whatever that might be. It doesn't have to be financial, but that's where, when we're looking at businesses or we're running RV parks, there is a lifestyle component to it. So we are super flexible when team members on our team have to go and do things. Like, we always put family first. And we want to help provide that as we're building businesses. We're looking at things like switching the schedules around. And instead of going 9 to 5, well, let's push it back and let's start at 6 or 7. Yeah, does that part suck? Yes, but you're done at 2 or 3. Now you're home. You can pick up your kids from school. You can do some of that stuff. And so that's where the financial foundation comes in. And then with RV parks, it comes back to an affordability, but also long-term affordability, but also a place that's a little bit more affordable than going and staying in the hotels and doing some of that stuff. So that's kind of where that comes in.
Love that. Love that. Because yeah, obviously financial freedom, it's, what do you do when you're financial free? It's usually try to do something bigger than yourself. And most people, money's not really like the end game, right? It's about like being able to fulfill what they're here on earth for. What's their purpose? And that could be, spending more time with more quality time with family, so that they can, bring up children who are good citizens in society.
Yeah, absolutely.
So cool. Now, I know that you're working on a few things. Before we hopped on this recording, we talked about a mastermind that you recently launched, and That was kind of like your first one, but you mentioned that you might be doing, or you're actually going to do multiple masterminds or workshops in the future. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, kind of getting in the right rooms and the right people and building the rooms you want to be in. So, the reason that we did it is I get asked a lot of the time about how did you do it? Like, how did you get into RV parks? Like, it seems so big and so daunting. And, you know, I don't know what I don't know. And what's nice is you get in the room with other people that are like that, other people that you're going to know forever and you're building relationships with. And I did get a lot of people who were like, hey, I can't travel this weekend, but can you do it online? Can you please put it online? And I just said no, because it's just not the same. You're not going to take it up, and soak it up as much, but you're also not going to get the FaceTime and you're not going to get the personal connections that you do when you're there. And so I think that is super, super important. And so that's the reason that we didn't, send out a replay or do any of, live streaming or anything like that. Again, it's about putting yourselves in the right rooms and taking the next like bigger leap and step. So that one in particular was about RV parks. I've had a lot of people reach out and want to do another one. And, the feedback that we got initially was just like, man, there is so much more to this that I did not know. And I'm so glad that I came and saw the underwriting and saw the due diligence and saw what your team looks like. And we toured the parks and we talked about all the things. And so that's really what it was about. It's just a way for people to see it live and in action and go through all of the steps, all of the questions that you might have, and just to bring a little bit more confidence to the people that are making the next call or want to get into it. And so that's what I think we left with, right? Is a lot of people left with the confidence to go and make the calls or figure out it. And it's okay as well. You can figure out, man, this is not what I want to do, right? But if I come across a deal that maybe we can partner on and I want to be more passive on, I met somebody in that room that's in Texas or in Colorado or wherever, and I'll just partner with them. Maybe, so it doesn't always have to be super active in that regards too. So you just meet people and they kind of open your eyes to even different techniques. I mean, we even got a lot of feedback from the people that were in the room and good ideas. And so it's just this collaborative effort. And that's what I really enjoy, is just being around the people.
Yeah, no, I love that. One, because when you're in person at meetups like this, or sorry, masterminds like this with people who have had experience, not only do you get that connection of like learning from someone who has done it in the past, but two, you're also building those connections and really relationships that eventually will be fruitful in the future, where you guys can collaborate on future deals, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're already looking at 3 deals that they've brought. I just haven't been able to. We were scheduling some time tomorrow in the next couple of days to go over some deals, and they're already more confident, and the investment that you make in yourself, and it just pushes you to do more. And so that's why I like to be in those rooms with people that are action takers and doing the thing and want to level up, because it pushes us all. And so that's why we are doing more events, because it is a lot to put them on. I was just telling you before we jumped on. I was pretty exhausted afterwards, but it's a lot to put them on. But it's the energy in those rooms is just so amazing. And so you leave, even you're super tired, but you leave energized to go and tackle the next thing, because you have a group of 10, 20, 30, 40, however many people you met that you could go back to and collaborate with, talk through a deal with, and bounce ideas off of. And that's super, super important.
Yeah, collaboration is definitely a key to, succeeding, right? And especially big projects like RV parks. Now, if someone is listening right now who maybe wants to get involved with something that you're working on, or maybe even just, get insight on your next mastermind, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, so the best way to connect with me is on Instagram at @the_Jordan_Reyes. Send me a message, DM me. I'm usually pretty active on there, and we will talk a lot about RV parks. There's still a lot of value on there that we kind of just give out, and that's where we'll probably talk more about our next mastermind or our event and that we're putting on. So that's the best way is on Instagram.
Awesome. So you heard it there. Connect with Jordan, and I'll put the link to your Instagram profile in the show notes as well. But true to your money, your rules fashion, we'd like to make every episode actionable. So if someone's just starting out in real estate, and maybe RV parks is something that sparks interest in them, what would be the homework that you would give them to take action this week?
So if you are interested in RV parks, number one, the first one is to connect with me on Instagram. That's homework number one, assignment number one. Number two would be if you are wanting to be active, bird dog, it, find deals, it's to go and talk with brokers. And everybody is always scared. Brokers are going to be the easiest, either brokers or go and drive to a park, talk to the operators, talk to somebody on site. But I would say make it your goal to talk to from 3 to 5 parks, whether that be on site or just calling them, and you are going to suck. Make no mistake about it. But that is okay. That is part of the process. That's a prerequisite. You have to go through some of that stuff to get to, the tip of the iceberg, if you will. And so be okay, be gracious with it. Be okay knowing that it's probably going to suck. Like nobody is perfect, but you have to start and you have to start somewhere. And so making the calls, you're probably not going to know all of the things to ask. You're probably not going to, if they come back to you with some term that you're not sure of, that's going to happen. But with every call and every situation, you're only going to get better. And so don't try and necessarily sell yourself or buy the deal on that first one. Just make the call. And that will breed confidence for you to build up, make the next call, the next call, the next call, until you are confident enough where you're making offers and doing that type of thing.
That's awesome. Awesome advice. Because similar to a child, right? Before they could run, they have to walk. And before they can walk, they have to crawl. Same thing in real estate or whatever it is that you're starting out and don't have any experience in. Be okay with sucking. You're going to stumble every now and then. But the more you do it, the more reps you put in, the better you get. So thank you so much for that. Now, for everyone who else listening today, and if this episode sparks something in you, maybe you realize that it's time to not just park your money, but put it to work, then I want to invite you to explore Thrive Banking. It's a strategy we use to help investor grow wealth in 2 places at the exact same time by protecting their money inside a safe, tax-advantaged system while also using it to fund real estate deals. Think of it as your personal bank built to fuel opportunities like the ones Jordan is talking about. And you can learn more about how it works at thrivebankingstrategy.com. Now, Jordan, thank you so much for sharing your story, your mission with us today. And to everyone else listening, remember, this isn't just about money. It's about freedom, purpose, and legacy. So take control, build legacy, and remember, your money, your rules.